All right, so the first one comes from THFC Report. There's Vicario showing his frustration after yesterday's defeat. Obviously, he must, look, having put in such a good performance and such an effort for him, I can understand his frustrations after yesterday. He's so full of passion, isn't he? That's one thing as well that I think a lot of people notice about Vicario. He's not just like a great keeper, but you know, he's come in with such passion and such personality as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I hope he hasn't injured his hand smacking the M of the Amex Stadium sign there. No, he's been an absolutely brilliant signing. And as I mentioned earlier, if we hadn't had him this season, I think we would be probably down with the Newcastle's 9th, 10th, 11th. Made some crucial saves, very brave when it comes to coming to crosses. And I think, you know, as most goalkeepers have to be a leader as well, not afraid to shout at his defenders. Lovely, passionate guy, and comes across really humble as well. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, shows his passion every game. Bread Roll says, I think he's talking about, I think this is a picture of Sonny here. It says, man is taped again, starting every game, running like crazy for 90 minutes week in, week out. But you will hear he gives nothing. Feels like last season all over again, and I hate it. I mean, there are people, look, just calling out a poor performance when they see it. I understand Sonny always gives his all for the team.
Yeah.
And even when he's injured, it was a bit frustrating for me to hear last season that he was playing pretty much the whole season through a hernia injury, which he could have got sorted at some point, but he put it off for the good of the team. And unfortunately, I feel like players, when they do that more often than not, are just hurting the team overall because they're so committed to like not having missed out. Same with Richarlison as well. Mm-hmm. He needed surgery and put it off. But I don't think anyone's accusing him of not giving his all for the team, are they?
No. That's interesting. I'd not seen this one before, and I'd not noticed last night that he had some tape behind his right knee. One thing I did say throughout the watch-along, though, is, you know, either it looks like maybe he's thinking of the Asian Cup, or maybe now it's just more likely that he is carrying a little knock. I did wonder if that was a situation that was possible. And I do, as I said before, I do think when Sonny is playing with a little knock, you really notice it with the small things, the kind of what I deem to be the easier things, the controlling of the ball and the 5-yard passes. So, yeah. Well, I hope it doesn't get worse because Sonny is vital to us.
100% agree. Next up, this comes from Coco. They're replying to a tweet from James Davis who says, Son needs dropping. His head's been in Korea for weeks, certainly not motivated for the team, it seems. And Coco tweets that saying, league best in goal contributions this month and has played almost every minute possible. But James says his head's in Korea. Imagine being objective. So two very differing opinions on Son's recent form. As I say, yeah, look, he does lead the league at the moment for league goal contributions. So I don't think does those accusations then that, you know, he needs dropping, do they ring hollow a bit?
Just before I get into that, my favourite part of Coco's reply there is that he's actually typed out the 3 Union Jacks. Yeah. He hasn't even linked, like, tagged him. He's just typed it out himself. Look, Sonny gives 100% all day, every day. He lives and breathes this shirt, you know. And, you know, as you know, I've said I've wondered if he's been thinking about the Asian Cup, but now I'm more prone to wonder if he's just carrying a knock and he's playing through the pain. I agree with you, mate. When they play through the pain, it only does harm in the long term. His injury's not going to get better by carrying on playing. And to be honest, I would say if he is carrying a knock, I'd say probably don't play against Bournemouth. We bring someone else in. You can play at 100%, and you take a couple of weeks off before your first Asian Cup game to make sure you're really good for it, because you can guarantee that Jurgen Klinsmann's going to start him in every game. In that Asian Cup tournament.
100% agree with that. Craig _ Pankhurst says Spurs fans have seen this script time and time again when playing some of the players who started tonight. Their weaknesses exacerbated when trying to play the ball out the back. A triangle of Emerson, Davis and Højbjerg is not a trio comfortable in possession. Obviously something we have touched on throughout this conversation, that trio, you feel that, you know, putting too much emphasis on those three probably distracts from what the real problems were from yesterday.
I'd also say, and I've said, that when you've got those 3 players playing together, it probably does drop your ability to play this kind of football by at least 10%. It just does. But I would also say I don't think they didn't try their best, and I don't think they were responsible directly for any of the goals. But yes, it's true. Until Ange is able to fully kind of clear out the players who have the kind of mental traumas of Spurs' lack of success getting close to things but not getting over the line of the last 10 years, of which, you know, Davis is an example. I actually think he'll make a good squad player, potentially a fourth centre-back, but it seems to me like Ange is keen to kind of bring in a new era, and so it wouldn't surprise me at all. Emerson's an interesting one because he's a big trier, and I know Ange likes him, but Ange must know that he's not right for this style either. So it wouldn't surprise me if we got some interest in Emerson Royale in the summer if he was going to. And I wouldn't go so far as to say, oh, it's as simple as we've seen the script time and time again, because we've also won a lot of games when those players have been playing too. But I understand what you're saying, Craig Pankhurst, and to be honest, it's not a huge surprise when, you know, those players play and we don't get over the line.
This one is from Gus. He says, this is a video of Son, obviously seems to be shouting at Brian Hill. He says, this man is the only captain out there. Both of the vice captains have been absent for long stretches. I'm not sure what more we can ask of him. In terms of how Sonny has really acclimatized to that captain's role, obviously we have seen various clips of him, you know, bringing people together, always encouraging players. That's and being kind of a lovable figure, which is what we associate with Sonny. But have you seen more of this kind of side, him being a bit more forceful with his teammates as well?
I haven't seen a lot of this down the years, to be honest, but it shows he's got it in him. I'm not sure, you know, I don't know what moment exactly he was having a go at Brian Hill at. Maybe it was one of those times he reached the byline and just picked the wrong decision. I'd be surprised if it was the time he had the air shot, because that's just like you're having a go at him for just not being good enough at that point. But yeah, I guess that's an important part of any leader's role. And, you know, at any level, I certainly know when I play on the football pitch, I'm shouting at everyone. But mainly only when, you know, if they try to do the wrong thing. I'd never shout at anyone if they're trying to do the right thing. But yeah, I guess it's important, and I'm sure he puts his arm around him in the changing room. Obviously, we saw a few years ago in the documentary, didn't we? The and in the live game, actually, the huge ruckus he had with Hugo Lloris. So it's in there. It's definitely in there for him. And you don't get to the elite level of world football if you don't have that passion and that care and that energy. But yeah, it's just sad that it was such a poor result last night, really. And I hope Sonny's injury is okay. I'm now really worried about his injury.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that strapping. Hopefully, it does seem something he's been carrying for a while, because he keeps going off, looking in a lot of pain, doesn't he? Yeah. And then he seems to be okay for the next game somehow. Apollo says Udogie is 20 years old. I think this is reacting to that clip where he's literally being clotheslined a few times, and somehow just seems to. I think it was Kaleba, I think it is, tries to. Twice he has a go at him. He can't stop him. Then Gross has a go at him. Can't stop him. He's such a physical specimen for a 20-year-old. It's quite incredible, and he's only going to get better as new destiny.
So good. Unbelievable player. I think the most talented young player we've got in the team. As I said, he'll be in the Premier League Team of the Year, I predict. Certainly in the young player nominees list, if not winning that trophy. And we're very lucky to have him. I'm just watching that clip over and over again. It's unbelievable. What I love about it is he beats the guy tries to clothesline him down, and then Destiny almost takes it as a personal affront that this player has the gall to try and tackle him again. So he's like, all right, I'm going to beat you one more time.
And that's in the 99th minute as well.
Absolutely mugs him off. And yeah, 99th minute, incredible stamina. What a player.
Incredible. CIY, I don't know how to pronounce it, says most goals contributed in the Premier League in December 2023. We touched on this. Son is leading the way now. He's on 7. He's now ahead of Solanke, Wood and Bowen, who are both, Solanke's on 6, Wood and Bowen on 5. So look, goal contribution wise, having good December.
He's up there with the Chris Woods of this world. Never did we think we'd say that. Never did we think we'd see the day.
Absolutely spot on. Brian Hill on Instagram yesterday after the result said, not the result we wanted, and we were far from our best. Time to recover and work for the next game. Come on, you Spurs. Nice for him, obviously, to come out and acknowledge that.
Very good of Brian Hill's social media manager to come out with that straight after the game. We appreciate that, Brian.
Lovely from Brian. Alex says, we nearly have a full starting 11 of players injured/suspended that are missing the Bournemouth game on Sunday. Add Son and Sarr to this later. Extraordinary. I've not seen anything like this in my life. Not so much bad luck. We need to invest heavily in January, but it won't happen. Looking at that team he's displayed there, I mean, I'm guessing this is for January because of because Son's included. I mean, where does that team finish in the Premier League? That team you're looking at now.
All I can say is that I mean,
except for Sarr in goal potentially.
All I can say is I feel incredibly strongly that if that Chelsea game had gone differently and Romero hadn't got sent off, I think we would have continued the kind of level of play we had in that first 20 minutes. We would have won that game, and I think we would be ahead of Arsenal now. I really do. Maybe we'd be level with Liverpool, but I really do. I think that's as good as I can say, really. That's not how football works. It does not played on paper, etc., etc. But, you know, we've had a bit of bad luck. We're rolling with the punches. Let's, as I said the other day again, let's try and get to the end of January, pick up as many points as we can before then, stay in the cup if we can. If we're in the cup by February, you know, a bit of luck here or there, I fancy a run.
Definitely. Yeah, but looking at our team is absolutely crazy. That is a really good starting 11, and that's a team of players who are
actually,
out.
do you know what? This brings up something that I've been meaning to ask you over the last couple of episodes we've been doing. Is there any part of you that thinks Ange could make Ryan Sessegnon believe in himself again?
You know, I was having this discussion with Ben, and I said, I probably, look, right now, I probably would say that Sessegnon still, I mean, is he an Ange player? Where does he even fit in? Is he a left winger? Is he a left back? I don't really know where Ange would see him, but I think if he's a left winger, there's a slight chance that maybe he could get something out of him, because actually he will stick wide. He is left-footed.
It's unbelievable delivery of the ball.
He's got really good delivery. If he can stay injury fit, he's still young enough that he's, you know, got time on his side, you know, moving forward. As you know, and we saw what he can do.
It's about belief with him, though.
Yeah,
it's about
exactly.
Self-belief, and he, you know, I think I've said it before, but those times where he gets substituted and you see him trudge around the outside of the pitch and his head down, he just got to a stage where he didn't believe in himself anymore, and maybe that's the lack of confidence, kind of knowing that he's always playing on, you know, not able to give 100% because of injuries. But I think if there's any manager who could make a player believe in himself and show him videos of him at his best, and maybe you're right, maybe play him on that left side, maybe we can get a tune out of him again. I'm not willing to end Sessegnon's career at Spurs yet. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think maybe I think second half of the season, if he can get a few more opportunities, once he's really injury free and he's not got those risks of like recurring hamstring injuries again, who knows what Ange can do with him? I definitely see him as a winger, though, because I think he could do that inverted role that Udogie does. I'm not convinced. Although, at the beginning of the season, a lot of people said Udogie wouldn't be able to do that. And look at how they're doing, so I wouldn't completely rule it out.
We'll see.
Football Confidential says, Celso doing Celso stuff. I do wonder, what do you reckon Celso actually said to him?
I honestly have no idea. The fact that he's covering his face while doing it is just mortifying to me.
Yeah, I do wonder, because João Pedro was not happy with what was something he said. I don't know what he was commenting on. I'm trying to think what Lo Celso could be saying to him.
I mean, but, could he have said, "You've played really well and I haven't"? Like, do you know what I mean? There's literally nothing. There's no like leverage Lo Celso had against João Pedro in that game. They like what was it, 4-1 at the time or something?
Yeah, I think it might have been 4-2 at the time.
Sometimes just keep your mouth shut, I think.
Yeah, I do. Get us in the comment section. What do we think he said? Squawk says, no Tottenham defender has provided more Premier League assists in a single season than Pedro Porro. Big Ange experiment is a success. Yeah, we've touched on it before. Obviously, Porro's doing absolutely brilliant at the moment with his delivery. I don't know if anyone saw this clip doing the rounds yesterday of a little Arsenal fan after the game. Yesterday, I mean, I was absolutely laughing at this one yesterday, and look, little Arsenal fans crying after a game never ceases to amuse me. So absolutely fantastic stuff there. Was not happy after the game.
Looks like he's wearing an Aaron Ramsdale kind of shirt as well. I'm sure Ramsdale's probably crying as well.
He said it was his first Arsenal game. Absolutely love it. Spurs Express says, this is from Vicario on Instagram, says, not a good night for us. Heads up, we have a match on Sunday. Focus on, obviously.
Here's my question. When the social media managers post the post-game comments for players, are they on a like per Instagram post payment? That's what I wonder. Like, are they being paid a day rate, in which case they're waiting all day just to wait for the end of the end of the night where they post something bland, or are they on a per Instagram post payment? I'm just waiting for the first Spurs player to have a say something like, you know, those ones.
Yeah, right,
say something
and
like.
And Ichibi, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. One of them is bound to slip up. Dan Kilpatrick says, a rough night for Spurs for 75 minutes, which underline their need for a more in-depth January. But given so much of their season is about vibes, the late rally felt important. This ended up more like the defeats to Chelsea and Villa, where there was some positives to build on. Do you agree with that? Was the takeaway yesterday more that, you know, we nearly gave it a really great go at the end and nearly got back into the game, or was the overall narrative how poor we were for the first 75 minutes?
You can't forget how poor we were, but I think he has put really succinctly what I was trying to say earlier, which is sometimes those momentum shifts can really affect you going into the next game as well. And the vibes thing is true. It is a lot about, you know, how you're feeling, and maybe they'll just have 5% more in their legs because they nearly made something happen in that last 15 minutes.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Alejo Feliz on Instagram as well, another curated Instagram post says, not the result we wanted, but we'll keep fighting. Happy to score my first goal with this amazing club. I hope it's the first of many more. I mean, considering his English isn't very great, I'm assuming he didn't post it himself, but look, delight for him.
He loves the club. All he's learned is amazing club, and I'm happy with that. Well done, Feliz. I think he definitely wrote that one himself from the changing room. I'm sure of it.
Absolutely. Spurs says, Destiny Udogie completed more final third passes and created the most chances between Brighton and Spurs today. One of the few bright spots. Look, I mean, sometimes stats can be misleading, but that is definitely a positive thing that he was able to have such an impact on the game from his position, which is
he's
fantastic.
An absolute beast.
Absolute beast. James Moore says, to have what at the start of the season would have been first choice midfield three and two centre-backs all out at the same time is obviously massively unlucky, but only having two centre-backs the manager trusted for at least half the season was always utterly bonkers, and it has clearly cost Spurs. Would you say not, being more forceful in investing in a centre-back in the summer has really cost us this season? And that obviously goes down to, who's to blame for that?
I think there's an argument to say that maybe the Sanchez sale after the deadline was, in hindsight, a mistake. But let's face it, none of the fans abusing the club for not investing in another centre-back like Davinson Sanchez anyway. I think it's probably likely that the players that Spurs were interested in terms of having another centre-back weren't available at a price we could afford. And unfortunately, these days, you also have to take into account financial fair play. So maybe they looked at Todibo as well then, and he wasn't available at a price they could get, or what have you. James Moore, I really like James Moore. I love the View from the Lane podcast, and he's a great journalist. He is a little bit on the glass half empty side a lot of the time. I think he wouldn't mind me saying that. And I think what I love about Ange is he's not going to take any players that don't fit his style and what he wants attributes-wise exactly. And I think the reason we didn't buy another centre-back is probably because that player didn't become available at a price that we could pay. So it's not quite as simple as saying it's utterly bonkers, if you ask me. And yes, we've been unlucky with injuries and suspensions.
That's a fair opinion. Killian says 6 points off top, 4 points off second, 3 points off third. Only one more Premier League game with no Van de Ven. Transfer window opens on Monday. Karma. And I think that's a fair point. I mean, I know a lot of people are very angry, disappointed with the defeat yesterday, and even in general, I know we've had some poor results in recent weeks, albeit we are off the back of 3 wins in a row before yesterday. But I think, anyone going overboard, I think if you look at the overall situation, it's still very positive and more things to be excited about than negative about for sure at the moment. Completely
agree, and that's what I'm trying to kind of manifest for all of our Spurs fans. I'm a little reticent to say that we'll only have one more Premier League game without Van de Ven. I think it's a hamstring injury, and the last thing we'd want is a reoccurrence of that. So maybe drip feed him in a bit slower. But yeah, it's definitely all positive for me.
Alan says, Ange looked into the camera like he was in the office. Obviously I was at the games, I didn't see this, but I wonder what he was reacting to, if it was maybe a penalty given or not. But it does seem to be a little wink at the camera, doesn't it?
I thought that, I could be wrong, but I thought that was when Kulusevski got the tackle and there was no VAR sending off.
That would,
because that was horrible, actually. Really horrible tackle. And I think he was shaking his head a little bit, kind of feeling like, oh, we don't get the rub of the green when it comes to that stuff, but they just did. But to be honest, if I'm going to say devil's advocate to that, if we're going to get a player sent off against us, I'd actually rather it hadn't been at that moment. I'd rather take it at some point down the line when we're at 0-0 or 1-0 up or something.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
obviously
fair.
Life doesn't work like that, but you know what I mean.
I know what you're talking about. Cody Mack, big up Cody, says, if there was a time to back a manager unconditionally, now would absolutely be it. Worst injury crisis I can remember. Don't start the ball in motion. Next thing, it will be a constant questioning in the media. Back Postecoglou. Do you agree with that? Do you think? I mean, a lot of people said that about Conte. You know, we really, after that first 6 months he had in charge, we really need to back him unconditionally. And then things did we did spend a lot of money and things did kind of fall apart. Do you feel like Ange, in these first 6 months has really earned that kind of that credit in the bank at the moment?
I do. I wonder if when he talks about backing him unconditionally means, throw unlimited funds at it this January. Now, sure, yeah, I think that would be great, but I think you have to take into account how hard it is to get players from other clubs in January. So basically, you're looking at a markup of probably between, 40 and 50% on their value to get them out of a club in January. And especially the beginning of, add on the beginning of January at that. Clubs are not going to want to sell at the beginning of January because they're like, I know I can get more money in 25 days' time. The fans aren't going to like this, but I'm sure they've read the article as well. There have been articles before that basically said Daniel Levy doesn't even turn his phone on till the 25th. So although Ange, I think, wants players in at the beginning of January, I'm not sure how realistic that is, sadly. I'd love to be proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. But I do think we are going to back Postecoglou unconditionally, by which I mean I think whoever he wants, in a similar way with Mickey van der Ven, we will push the boat out to get that player as long as it doesn't go against financial fair play situation. And whether or not those players do genuinely come available in January, there's a lot of talk about Todibo, obviously. I think if we say Todibo is worth 40 million on the market, I think they're probably currently asking for 60. And Levy is thinking maybe I can get him for 45, 48 towards the end of the window. That is, of course, frustrating to fans. And they look at Man City and they say, well, Man City do it. Why don't we do it? Because they're run by a state and they cheat. It's as simple as that. We're not going to financially dope. We're not sports washing. And therefore, we're not throwing money around like Todd Bowley has either. And they've also been cooking the books. So it's difficult. I'd love to be proven wrong and get a player in on the 1st of Jan. Can't see it happening, but I do think we are going to support Big Ange. I think Levy has the perfect manager for Tottenham, because I don't think Ange is going to say to him, I need £100 million players like Conte would. 60 to £100 million players. I think he's like, 30, 40 million pound players that I can mold as well, young with potential sell-on value as well. So I think he will back him over the next 4 or 5 transfer windows.
Actually, reading this tweet again, I do think he's actually might be talking about the fans backing him unconditionally rather than the club. Well, also I think, and I understand every manager deserves criticism at times, but I agree. I think everyone should really be behind Postecoglou at this point, considering the job he's done. 100%. I
would go as far as to say if you're questioning Ange Postecoglou in terms of being manager of Tottenham at this stage, then you need to give your head a wobble, because some of the stuff we've had to sit through has been absolute dross. And all you have to do is look over at Manchester United, and I promise you, all of their fans are looking at Spurs at the moment and going, I would love to have your manager. I would love to have someone who is unconditionally single-minded about the style of football. And if he was at Man United now, they would not be playing the dross that they are playing. So I think, enjoy it.
Absolutely agree. The next tweet, I think we can roll over that one because I think we've reacted to that already. Harry Brooks says, the squad is not built in Ange's image and it's been decimated by injuries and suspensions to a level I've never seen before. Games and results like tonight are going to happen, and if you can't accept that, you'll be forever disappointed. I think that's a fair comment. That's something we've been saying, isn't it? That at this point in the process, nothing's going to be perfect, and you will get results like yesterday where things just go against you.
Harry Brooks, hello Harry, one of the most dangerously commonsensical people on Twitter, on X. He is a great coach, coaches youth players to a really excellent high level. And I've interviewed him before and I've met him before. He's actually scored 5 penalties past me before. I had to give him 100 notes. And he just talks in common sense. He's not reactive. And everything he's saying there is exactly what we've been talking about. And I know it's annoying to some people. And yes, football can make you angry and bad results can make you upset and they can ruin your Christmas. But of course it's going to happen. And of course you need to remain patient and realistic. Man City have had, before the last game, hadn't won in 5 or something? They had a terrible run. No one is running away with this. The standard of the Premier League is so high. And everything he's saying about the squad not being in our image, in Ange's image, and the decimation by injuries is totally true. So just, enjoy the ride. They're going to be ups and downs, but this is going to end beautifully, is my prediction.
Yeah, I completely agree. Spurs ITK Hub says too little too late. Generally had the chance to make it 4-4 unbelievably. Very, very poor on the most part though. Has to be better this weekend. Can't let that ending brush over the rest of the game. Yeah, and look, we all have to agree that for the first 75 minutes we were poor. It was a good ending. I'm just hoping we can take that bit of momentum that we had at the end into the Bournemouth game, and hopefully that can stand us in good stead. But look, of course, we can't ignore that for 75 minutes we were totally outplayed, and that was the reality. Yappy says, that's a red card all day. I'd be fuming the other way around. Refs were on our side today, if we're being honest. I'm guessing he's a Brighton fan, Yappy. Yeah, and looking at that image, I mean, I've seen the challenge back. It was a carbon copy of Romero's against Chelsea, I felt like, in terms of he won the ball, but the follow-through was high. It was a bit out of control as well. Dangerous, I would say. And I think in a perfect world...
He's got a straight leg as well.
Like,
it's a straight leg. So that they talk about some of these have not been given because it's not been a straight leg. You can't honestly tell me that his foot isn't halfway up his shin, up his ankle.
It was dangerous. And, you heard Postecoglou, I'll mention it after the game, he said VAR saw everything today apart from a challenger we could have lost a player from. He was frustrated with that. So I have to agree. I mean, at that point, 100% that was a red and they got away with one.
I was surprised that I thought he was going to go off injured. I was surprised that he jumped up. He's a strong boy.
Yeah, because Donnelly was stripped off, wasn't he? But he didn't end up coming on. Yid Army 00C says random Argentinian versus Haaland regen. Valise now has the same amount of Premier League goals as Rasmus Højlund, so sees what 70 million can get you. Same amount as 13 million apparently. Yeah. Lovely stuff. Spurs OTM says what a save from Vicario. This was for me save of the match. I thought he reacted so well to get fingertips on that little chip, albeit João Pedro maybe could have got the ball a bit higher, but I thought it was a phenomenal save that from Vicario. Really, really difficult.
Yeah, do you know what he did well, right? He didn't rush at his feet and he stays on the 6-yard line and he makes João Pedro make a decision. So what you mostly see with dinks over the keeper is when the keeper's diving at their feet, and actually he's tried to dink him when he's still on his feet, and that enables him to make the save, and I agree, it's a top class save.
Yeah. Just getting it wide as well. SBTR says, when Ange starts Roy out centre-back instead of Phillips on Sunday, it starts a whole fight. I mean, look, I don't know if it will cause that kind of reaction, maybe if he feels that, but I thought at one point as well, was Phillips ready to come on yesterday? I thought someone said that in the crowd, maybe not. But again, as you say, if Phillips comes in and has a really poor performance, we might never see him again. So you just got to be very careful, especially right now when we got a whole makeshift defence. Yeah. To put him alongside of Ben Davies, who's already a fullback, it's going to be a very, very risky.
I think you bring him on alongside Romero or Van der Ven at best. But also, as I said a couple of days ago, Phillips went away with the England unders at 19s or 18s or whatever it was, and he didn't even get on the pitch. So, he's potential. I think he's potential at this point. We've seen something in him. We paid a couple of £1 million to get. It's an opportunistic signing. I'm not sure necessarily he's ready for first team action. But if he plays, and he is, I'll be the first to hold my hands up.
Tottenham Hotspur tweeting out saying first of many Alejo. I have to be fair, I've actually never seen anyone so happy to score a goal at 4-1 down than Alejo, but I understand it. I understand it. I'm delighted for him because 19 years of age, new country, new club, like it's I
think it's the first good chance he's had as well.
Probably,
one chance and he didn't snatch at it, he put it away.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Spurs Express says Vicario is the only reason why the scoreline isn't currently one, which humiliates Tottenham. I think we can all agree with that. We've touched on that as well. Paul O'Keefe says, if you think about it, it's mental, the stick. I don't know if I like this on. Anyway, I'll read it out. If you think about it, it's mental, the stick that Moyes gets really won them a European trophy, keeps them competitive in the Premier League when they're not realistically who can challenge a team who can challenge for the top. Not sure what people expect. He has them at 33 points after 19. They're actually only 3 points off us, West Ham.
They are, but they're absolute dross. That's the good news. Listen. Moyes' ball is absolutely designed for games like last night, games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, when they can sit back, try and nick a couple of goals, ideally from set pieces. It's the games where they have to come out and play where West Ham are at their most dross. And I think, they're on a good run, good for them. They're doing the best they can, but it is classic and something we've had to deal with before, where your team are getting results, but you're hating the style of football that they're playing. And West Ham fans are hating it.
And it's not sustainable, is it?
It's not sustainable. All the stuff that we've had to deal with over the last few years under Conte and Jose and all the stuff the pundits say and the fans say, it's proven not to be sustainable with us. You know, sure, they're doing well, but if it's not making their fans happy, then what's the point?
All right, and I think that is it for REAX for this version.